Hello, welcome to the daily English news program on Azərbaycan Television with the most important developments of the day. I'm your host, İlham Məmmədov. On November 26, President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, İlham arrived in the city of Sochi, Russian Federation, for a working visit at the invitation of President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. A bilateral meeting between President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, İlham and President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, took place in Sochi on November 26. Welcoming President İlham Vladimir Putin thanked for the visit and said a lot of issues were to be discussed. The trilateral meeting on the settlement of the Nagorno-Karabakh problem would be in the spotlight, saying that there was still a lot to be discussed. Vladimir Putin pointed out to the fact that next year marked the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries and stressed that this occasion will be celebrated appropriately. President Putin also underscored the strategic partnership that was successfully developing. Suffice it to say that despite all the issues related to the pandemic and the associated restrictions in the economy, in the first 9 months of this year, our trade turnover increased by 11%. This is a good indicator. 900 Russian enterprises operate in Azerbaijan. Russia invested 4.5 billion in the Azerbaijan economy. Russia is one of the Azerbaijan's leading economic and trade partners, said Vladimir Putin, and thanked for the development and support of the Russian language being the language of administration in about 340 schools in Azerbaijan. It testifies to the efforts of the Azerbaijani leadership and the Azerbaijani people to maintain close and multilateral relations. As for the settlement of the Nagorno-Karabakh issue, it will be discussed in a trilateral format with the participation of the Prime Minister of Armenia, said President Vladimir Putin, and stressed the positive role of Russian peacekeepers. The Russian-Turkish ceasefire control center is actively working. Unfortunately, there are incidents and casualties that still occur. We gathered to assess the current situation and what everyone needs to do to prevent such incidents, to improve the situation and create conditions for a comfortable life and development of people in the region, said President Vladimir Putin, and once again welcomed President İlham Aliyev. Thanking President Putin for the invitation, President İlham Aliyev said that this year active dialogue had been maintained. They both met and spoke over the phone frequently, saying that he was happy with the dynamism of bilateral relations. The head of state extended his personal condolences to President Putin and the people of Russia in connection with the tragedy that had occurred in coal mine in Kemerovo province. Referring to the resolutions of many issues in the bilateral format, President İlham Aliyev said that today the relations between the two countries were characterized as strategic relations. Touching upon the increase of trade turnover and the increased interest to cooperation in the economic field, the head of state said he was happy that the relations covered so many fields. Thanking President Putin for appreciating the fact that Russian language was made popular and preserved in Azerbaijan through education, the President extended his gratitude to the head of the Russian state for the wonderful conditions created for Azerbaijani students to undertake studies in Russia, underlining that this week was very remarkable in terms of the development of bilateral relations. The head of state noted that this week he had received Russian Deputy Prime Minister, yesterday President of the Russian Academy of Sciences, and added that the Special Representative on Humanitarian Cooperation of the President of the Russian Federation had been in Baku with an important mission to regulate relations between intellectuals, figures of culture from Azerbaijan and Armenia, with an active participation of the Russian side. Referring to the Armenian-Azerbaijani issue, the head of state noted that there had not been serious incidents in the zone of responsibility of the Russian peacekeepers since November 10th last year, when the Russian peacekeepers were deployed to the region. There were no armed confrontations and no serious events, with the exception of few incidents. There had been armed confrontations on the Azerbaijan-Armenian border, but this was not the zone of responsibility of Russian peacekeepers, said the head of state, and added that this issue should be seriously approached and risks should be managed, which made it necessary to hold talks, including in the trilateral format, on the minimization of those risks and to continue to work on the comprehensive settlement of the Armenia-Azerbaijan relations. We highly appreciate your role, the role of high-ranking representatives of the Russian government in this issue, and of course the role of Russian peacekeepers for the preservation of peace in Karabakh, and we hope that this work will be continued next year and there will be good results, said President İlham Aliyev. A trilateral meeting between President of the Republic of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev, President of the Russian Federation Vladimir Putin, and Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia Nikol Pashinyan was held in Sochi. President of Russia Vladimir Putin expresses gratitude to the sides for accepting the invitation to visit Russia to summarize the work done within a year after the adoption of a ceasefire statement. The other side said much had been done within this period, but unfortunately not all the issues had been settled yet. Russian president said he was aware of the incidents on the border, tragic incidents, killed and wounded people from both sides, underlined that the aim of the visit was to prevent similar incidents. President Vladimir Putin said it was good that there were no large-scale combat operations. Much had been done to return the refugees. 53,000 people had returned to their places of residence. A good monitoring group had been set up. The Russian contingent was operating properly, providing safe conditions for the people. Russia-Turkey Center for monitoring the ceasefire was functioning. President Vladimir Putin said Armenian, Azerbaijani and Russian governments had set up a trilateral commission on the level of deputy prime ministers. The head of state said all efforts aimed at creating conditions to revive the region, to make sure that people feel safe, engage in farming and develop economy. Taking into account special character of the relations with Armenia and Azerbaijan, this is of great importance for Russia. Throughout centuries we were part of one state. We have very deep historical relations, said Russian President, adding that efforts should be made to restore those relations. Vladimir Putin said together with President Ilham Aliyev, they had discussed the issues that should be coordinated in the process of joint activities. Thanking President Vladimir Putin for his personal participation in the issue of the settlement of relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and of course for his active involvement in the agreement of the trilateral statement last year, President Ilham Aliyev stressed that the situation was stable in the zone of responsibility of the Russian peacekeepers and no serious incidents had taken place. Therefore, I thank the Russian peacekeeping forces for their good service and provision of security in the region, which experienced long-lasting frozen conflict and large-scale military operations last year, said the head of state. Azerbaijan has demonstrated maximum constructivism this year in order to eliminate the consequences of the war and restore communications. Practically all the items of the trilateral statement signed last year were implemented, and therefore we first of all need to discuss this, and then the topic of determination of borders between Azerbaijan and Armenia. We highly appreciate the support of the Russian side in this issue, said President Ilham Aliyev. There is no delimitation on the border between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Therefore, we stated on many occasions to start urgently delimitation of borders between Armenia and Azerbaijan. In addition, we offered the Armenian side to put an end to the confrontation and to recognize territorial integrity of each other and start working on the peace agreement in order to live as neighbors in the future, said President Ilham Aliyev. Prime Minister of Armenia Nikol Pashinyan first of all extended his condolences to President Putin for the explosion in coal mine in Kuzbas, which took the lives of many people. Stressing the important role of the Russian peacekeepers in the stabilization of the situation in Nagorno-Karabakh and the region, Prime Minister of Armenia expressed his concern that the situation was not that stable and added that dozens of people died on both sides since November 9th last year. Stressing that from May 12th of this year the situation on the Armenia-Azerbaijani border was in crisis, Nikol Pashinyan stressed that borders between Armenia and Azerbaijan had not been delimitated and demarcated, but there was a state border. Disagreeing with the view that all the items of the trilateral statement, with the exception of the opening of communications, were implemented, the Prime Minister brought up the issue of hostages and captured people. He also stressed that Armenia was ready to start the demarcation and delimitation of borders, and opening of all the communications was also an important issue for them. Touching on the peace agreement, Nikol Pashinyan stated that Armenia was also interested in this and underlined that this should be done within the framework of the mediation of the OSCE Minsk Group. President Vladimir Putin stressed the significance of what President of Azerbaijan and the Prime Minister of Armenia said. Both sides are interested in the development of normalization of the situation, the development of a positive solution to the situation. President Ilham Aliyev recalled the opening of communications, which is in the interest of all the neighboring countries. First and foremost, we again agree that in the near future we will begin work on the demarcation and delimitation of borders. First delimitation and then demarcation, although it is clear that the issue is complicated. There were no clear borders since the Soviet Union, but we have an opportunity to talk about all this, added Vladimir Putin. The head of the Russian Federation also touched upon the upcoming meeting in Brussels of President Ilham Aliyev and the Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, and said he commended this step. President Vladimir Putin said he recently had a conversation with the President of the Council of the European Union, Charles Michel, and expressed hope that a step forward will be taken. Following this, the leaders of the three countries issued statements for the press. Russian President Vladimir Putin thanked Azerbaijan's President and Armenian Prime Minister for agreeing to visit Russia and to discuss the situation around Karabakh problem and in general issues of settlement in the region. He said constructive work had been done, the situation had been analyzed. President Vladimir Putin highly appreciated the activity of Russian peacekeepers, border guards, specialists engaged in mine clearance, and those ensuring return of people to their places of residence. Vladimir Putin said an agreement had been reached to set up mechanisms of demarcation and delimitation of borders between the two states, and added there was no obstacles for those mechanisms. The other said drew attention to the humanitarian issues. Vladimir Putin said they also talked about the development of economic relations, about the opening of transport corridors. Russian President said deputy prime ministers would meet in Moscow next week to declare the decisions made today. President of Azerbaijan Ilham Aliyev expresses gratitude to the Russian President Vladimir Putin for the meeting, for his efforts to create favorable conditions to solve the existing issues between Azerbaijan and Armenia. The head of state regarded as positive the year passed since the adoption of the trilateral statement that ended the war between the two countries. President Ilham Aliyev also thanked the Russian President as well as the Russian Defense Ministry for the peacekeeping activity in Karabakh. The head of state said comprehensive talks had been held on the delimitation and demarcation of borders, on plans and issues causing concern of both sides. President of Azerbaijan said the decisions made on the settlement of disputes would pave the way for safer and predictable situation in the South Caucasus. Noting that humanitarian issues had also been discussed during the meeting, President Ilham Aliyev said Azerbaijan was always in favor of the observation of all humanitarian norms. The other said more than 100 Armenian servicemen, including one person detained after the end of the military operations, had been handed over to Armenia. The President said we in Azerbaijan were committed to turn the page of years-long confrontation and to start the stage of normal mutual activity. Calling Azerbaijan Russia's friend and strategic partner, President Ilham Aliyev said the level of relations based on confidence between Azerbaijan and Russia also created conditions for coming to a common ground with Armenia on delicate issues. The other state expressed confidence that the result of the meeting would be good, the situation in the region would be safe and predictable. Prime Minister of Armenia Nikol Pashinyan assessed the meeting as positive and added they had discussed all the issues on the agenda. Stressing that they specified their positions on some of the issues, he noted that there was no difference of opinions on them, as it was presumed before the meeting. Stressing that their vision of opening communications in the region aligned, Nikol Pashinyan underlined that within the framework of this visit, a trilateral statement was adopted which stipulated creation of certain security and stability mechanisms on Armenia-Azerbaijan border. Of course, we touch on the humanitarian issues, and I positively assess today's meeting. I once more thank our strategic ally Russian Federation for this initiative. I confirm on behalf of Armenia and on behalf of the mandated Armenian government that we are ready for the commencement of peaceful era for our region, and this is our target, said Nikol Pashinyan. President Vladimir Putin, in his final remarks, stated that the meeting was very fruitful and timely, and as a result of this meeting, they signed a statement. In reference to the presents in the form of an olive branch, a symbol of peace, to both Armenia and Azerbaijan, Vladimir Putin expressed hope that all the agreements will be implemented and will pave the way for the next steps for the normalization of situation in the South Caucasus. Under the instructions of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces Ilham Aliyev, the work to further increase the combat capability of the Azerbaijani army is underway. The ceremony of presenting berets to the military personnel at newly established Commander Unit was held. After the berets were handed over to the successful servicemen of the Commander training courses, the personnel took the Commander oaths. Minister of Defense Zakir Hasanov emphasized the importance of the Commander training courses based on the experience of the Turkish Armed Forces in further enhancing the professionalism of the servicemen and wished them success in the service. Defense Minister gave relevant instructions to the military personnel on being constantly ready for fulfilling new combat tasks of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. The exemplary performances of the operational groups on physical training were performed. Speaker of the Azerbaijani Milli Majlis, Sahibeh Gafarova, met with the World Health Organization Regional Director for Europe, Hans Kluge, as part of a working visit to the Russian Federation. Sahibeh Gafarova highlighted the steps taken in Azerbaijan to fight COVID-19. It was stressed that within a short period of time, Azerbaijan had provided financial and humanitarian assistance to more than 30 countries and international organizations, including a voluntary donation of $10 million to the WHO. This initiative once again demonstrates that our country's commitment to international solidarity and cooperation. Hans Kluge hailed Azerbaijan's contribution to countering the pandemic and the efforts to restrain its spread, and underlined the successful continuation of this process now. That was all for the day. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye.